Hello there, everyone, and a very, very happy Monday to you today. My name is Sarah, and I'm here to bring you a fun, stampy hour of Altenew card making and stamping and all kinds of fun today. So welcome. I'm really glad that you are here with us today. And I'm just checking a couple of things here on my computer, make sure that we are all set to go. Welcome, everybody. It's so nice to see folks jumping in. Hi, Amy. Hi, Sue. Hi, Jill. Jill, you're in a bitterly cold England. Oh, I've been watching your weather report. We've got some cold weather here in Hamburg, Germany as well. I think you guys had some snow over the weekend, though. So nice and cozy if you're inside. Hi to Strawberry and Avril and Allison and Cindy and Debbie. And it is fantastic to see everyone. So welcome, welcome, welcome. And today I've got a couple of card making projects for you that have a focus with Christmas. We're kind of looking at moving ahead into the Christmas card making season. If you haven't been making your Christmas cards already or getting ready to send them out, that's going to be my weekend project, is making sure that I've got everything set and ready to mail out. This weekend was the first Advent, and because it isn't December yet, it felt like it kind of snuck up on me. You know, we're counting down the 4 Sundays until Christmas, and that was yesterday. And so it's coming up quick. If you celebrated Advent or Hanukkah over the weekend, or just had a nice cozy time, I'm glad that you are here and hanging out with us this hour. So today I'm going to be working with the Majestic mistletoe set. And this is obviously one that is designed for Christmas, but it can be a lot more too. So this will be the foundation of the cards that I'll be showing you this hour. And this is a layering stamp set. So if I turn it over, you can see a little bit better. We've got 2 large mistletoe foliage branches, and you can see them here when they're all layered up. They can be mistletoe, but they could probably be other things too. So it's a nice kind of all over year-round stamp set. So you can see the 2 large mistletoe branches. Here are some of the layering options. Here are the berries and some accents for the berries. And then the sentiment is merry, be merry. And there's the ampersand and bright. This is not a new stamp set. This is one that I've had probably 3 years, maybe even more. And it's one that I use probably every year for multiple cards. And the other thing that I like about it is that if you like to do cards in batches, it's a really easy one to kind of do, not an assembly line process, but almost. And you can create some really beautiful and simple layered designs. But like most Altenew layering stamp sets, you can skip layers if you want to, and you can kind of rearrange some things. So we'll talk a little bit about that too. But we will start with this card and then work our way through a couple of other ones as well. So hopefully that all sounds good to you today. I do have right behind me here one of my helpers today. So the other one is inside a large cardboard box. They're both angry because I didn't buy the right kind of cat food. I tried a new kind. They don't like it. And so they're letting me know by being just right there, but like facing the other direction. So sometimes cats just aren't friendly. But today we have that today. So hoping that nothing gets knocked over. Okay, I'm just going to check to make sure that we are all good to go. Hope is saying, yeah, good to watercolor. You are exactly right, Hope. And I was thinking too, it would be a fun stamp set to do like some inking and then misting and then stamping to get kind of a watercolor effect on there as well. You've got some cool things to do. Alrighty, I am going to swap the camera angle for process, and we can look down at my work surface here. And we can start getting into some of the step-by-steps. I also want to say a thank you to Roxanne. She is our magic behind the Altenew badge today, and I'm sure she's already said this, but I will reiterate it. If you share today's live while we are live, you could be in for a $15 gift certificate to the Altenew store. So keep that in mind. And just let us know that you shared and how you shared. Okay, so let's take a look here. So I'm going to be working with my Misty because this is a layering stamp set, and I just find that it works a lot easier for me, especially at 9:30 at night when my eyes are starting to get tired. So if you have an acrylic block, you can still do the layering technique as well. And for this card, what I'm going to do is choose the design that is layered with the berries. So here's the stamp that has you can see like little spaces here and here and here where the berries will be positioned. This one is just a regular piece of foliage. Okay, so here we've got our base piece. Then here's the second layer. And then here is the third layer. So I've got, of course, all the layering guides here on the background. Now with some of these, as you can see, they are starting with this, what I would call the second layer, and then moving to this one. You can do either one. So let's take a look at this. I've got my cardstock in place, and I'm going to grab this large piece here and pop this down. Make sure it's clean. Pop that down there. Okay. Now I'm going to grab a couple of different green inks, and you can use whatever green inks you have. Altenew has so many lovely greens, especially some of my favorite colors. So whatever you've got in your stash will probably do the trick. I'm going to start with the lightest color, which is Frayed Leaf. Then I'm going to do a second layer in Forest Glades, and I'll do a third layer of Evergreen. Now you'll notice some of these ink pads are like the older packaging. I've had these for a really long time, and I have to say, the Altenew inks are such a good quality that many of my Altenew inks are these older ones that I've just had for a really long time, and they are still good. So good quality means you don't have to buy new ones a lot. Okay, so I'm going to be starting with my Frayed Leaf. So we'll go ahead and ink this one up. Make sure that I've got, okay, and I'm just using a plain smooth white cardstock. Okay, and I'm going to do this one again. Looks like I didn't quite get that tip inked up here. And I'm using the little cubes, but of course these are available as your like normal oval pads. Okay, so that's with the Frayed Leaf. So I've got my basic leaf on here. Now I want to kind of stop and say, if you wanted to, you could very easily just add the berries in here and be done. That's always an option. But if you want to keep going, which we will do in this case, then what you'll do is grab your second layer, which is this funny looking one right here. And I will point out too that the mistletoe, when you stamp it, the two different ones, they go different directions. So this is the one without the berries kind of bending this way, and the one with the berries bends the other way. So it makes it a little bit easier to figure out which one of these layers goes with which. Okay, so grab this one. And then I just need to position this down. So I'm going to angle this around here. And the only thing I really need to make sure of is some of the leaves are designed to kind of wrap around another leaf. And I'll show you what I mean. I have a little pointer here. I'm going to use this paintbrush. So you can see, for example, this green that we've stamped, this is the one that we've just stamped. And the other colors are kind of going, they're positioned to go sort of behind the first leaf. So you've got them as sort of shadows. So you do need to kind of make sure when you're angling that you've got them top and bottom aligned as well as you can. I'm going to scoot this just a little bit more. Okay, and this one I'm going to stamp with Forest Glades. Frayed Leaf and Forest Glades are two of my go-to green colors with Altenew. Although I have to say I've got a lot of green colors from Altenew. Greens are some of my favorites. I like to do a lot of florals, and of course when you do flowers, you want to have your leaf colors, leaves and stems. Let's see, I'll pop this down. Okay, so now I've got my 2 layers on here, and I'm going to kind of clean this off. And I'm wondering, these 2 colors look awfully similar to me, and I'm wondering if I was chatting so much that I grabbed the same ink color. So if I did, apologies, but let's take a look at how we can keep going with this. Okay, now the next layer is going to be this one here. This is going to give us our shadow effect. Again, if you wanted to, you could simply stop here and add the berries and call it good. But in this case, I'm going to take the highlighted leaf section and pop this down here. I think I just used the same color twice. So my apologies. I was talking so much that I didn't realize. Okay, so I'm going to align this here, which is actually a good point to say that you could do the foliage in the same color. You know, you don't necessarily have to have them be different, but this time I am going to go different. I'm going to use the darker green, which is the evergreen. So let me ink this up. And this is where you'll see some really nice definition. Okay, so here we go. And there you can see that color just pops out. Really pretty, really nice. Oh, Avril's saying you like the bamboo and parrot greens too. Those are 2 of my favorites as well. I really like those. Parrot and bamboo. Nice lighter colors, lighter shades, and brighter shades too, which is really nice. Okay, so again, I've got my shadowing on here. I've got some leaves kind of bending around each other. If I was using the correct inks, that's what it would look like. But you could also do a monochromatic look. Okay, so let's add our berries. Here's where you can start to see the areas where the berries will go. So right here's one, here's another area too, and there's one too. So here are the berries. The berries come in kind of 3 layers, if you will. So you've got your berries, you've got your berry shadows, this one here, and this little tiny dot here is like the little accent, the finishing accent piece on the berry. So those little black dots, it's just one stamp and you will use it multiple times if you choose to have that on there. Okay, so I'm going to take this one off and kind of nest those dots, berries, in where the open areas are. So again, just let that kind of guide you. Always check the top and the bottom, so you make sure that those are well aligned. So for my berries, I'm going to use a couple of red colors. I've got ruby red, and then I'm going to do some highlighting, or the highlight area with a grapevine. And then I'm going to use black for the little dots. And I'm going to use my favorite obsidian for that. Got that set off to the side. I'll set the grapevine off there too and get the ruby red, which is a nice, bright, really true red. Okay, and pop this down. And there we go. So there you can see it really pops out there. I love this. Oh, hi, Nancy. Glad to see that you've joined us. She says she's late. That's no problem, Nancy. I was rushing beforehand too, because about 5 minutes before we started, there was a little computer glitch that ended up being a little bit scary. I had an email partway written to Roxanne and Lydia saying, "Oh no, something weird happened." So don't worry, we're all here. We've got it together, more or less. Okay, so again, I could leave this as is, but I'm going to come back with this highlight stamp here. So this is all one kind of funny looking stamp, and this is going to provide a little bit of shadow onto our berries. So again, you just kind of fit that in where it goes. And then I'll stamp this one with grapevine. Alrighty. Grapevine is a really nice, almost a burgundy red, a really nice deep dark red. And it goes nicely as a shadow color. So it's a subtle touch to see. I can definitely see it on here. I think maybe if I hold it up there, you can see it too. And then again, if I wanted to, leave it as is, or come back with that one little teeny tiny dot and stamp that in black. And so my trick for that, with my stamp positioner, I love using it for layering stamps. With really teeny tiny stamps, like this is how big it is. I really prefer using a block. And I will still keep my design here on my Misty, keep it kind of tacked down. But I just find it's a lot easier to have something so small on a block. It makes for easier handling. So for this, I'm going to use my obsidian black. And of course, you could use the jet black if you wanted to as well. That would be fine. But any black, this is just the one that I always use. And I'm just tapping this in here. I'm not spacing it in a certain way. If any of the berries maybe didn't perfectly line up, you can disguise things too. You can disguise any little gaps in there. But then you will have your finished layered mistletoe. And if you're doing it with different colors, you will have something that might look like this. So again, you can go monochromatic on purpose, or you can mix and match your greens. Now I have a sentiment on here, which is coming from another stamp set that I love a lot, which is the Peace on Earth set. And this one is another one that I've used so many times. It's got Merry Christmas in all different languages. So if you are sending a Christmas card to an English-speaking friend, you've got Peace on Earth, large and small. You have Joy to the World down here. You've also got, of course, Merry Christmas, but then you've got Merry Christmas in languages like Dutch, in Welsh. We could all send Lydia a Christmas card. We've got it Afrikaans and Hawaiian, in the Ukrainian and Chinese and Polish, in German, Italian, French. And it's really fun. It's a fun stamp set because not only does it have all of those sentiments, but it also has the words that say, no matter where you are, near or far. This one says, wishing you, and then you would add in like Merry Christmas or God Yule, or what, whichever, Frohe Weihnachten, whatever you would like to have in there. So you can also combine all of those as a really cool background too. So I'm going to take this one here. I'm going to send this to my Italian friend, we'll say. And these stamp up really nicely as well. They have a really, really nice script to them. And it just provides a perfect balance, I think, to this stamp. So whether you're sending it to Italy or to France, or I suppose Canada as well, you've got lots of options in there, but I think it just comes together so nicely and so easily. So this is how you can use this stamp set in one way, but let's take a look at maybe some other ways that we can play with this. I'm going to set my little stamp aside there. And I want to show you also the other mistletoe in the set. So you've got the one with the berries, but you've also got another design without the berries. So in this case, you'll have the same style of leaf, of course, bending the other way, but you can create it's almost an everyday look, everyday foliage. And then you've also got this smaller foliage bit here too that is not to be layered. So let's take a look at layering this one here and pop this down. And so this design is going to be with this large piece here. And then you've got your second area here, and then your third one here. So let's start with our main piece. And Lindsay is saying, FYI, mistletoe berries are white. Are they? I didn't realize that. Oh, I suppose you're right. I have to think about the last time that I saw mistletoe in real life. Here they've got them as yellow. So I suppose you could do lots of different colors. Okay, so I'm going to start out with this basic shape, with our first shape. And in this one, I'm going to do olive. And then for my second layer, let's do forest glades for that. And the third one we can do with evergreen. Okay, so I'm going to set aside some of these ones. And the grapevine, and we can begin with olive. Okay, so here we go. And inking this one up. Olive is another one of those colors that I like, the green colors that I like a lot. Comes in handy. And it's nice when you're working with foliage that you're able to do lots of different shades of green. Of course, there's not just one shade of green. Okay, so I've got the olive. I'm going to do a second pass here. And there we go. So again, especially for an everyday card, you could definitely stop here. Oh, Avril's saying she thinks it would be nice on craft card with the white berries. Ooh, that's a great idea. Definitely. Could add some pen work on that too. With a white pen, like a gel marker. Would be pretty. Okay, so I'll pop this back. And then I'm going to grab this second layer here, this funny looking one. And layering this one up. I'm going to put my card up here where I can see it better. And again, same process. You're going to have your leaves kind of bending around. One will sort of bend around the other. So always start either at the bottom or the top and then just kind of angle from there. So you'll notice when we stamp this, you'll notice that you've got parts of the foliage that will wrap around. One will kind of wrap around the other, almost like a masking technique. And this one I'm going to do with our forest glades. And ink this up. And there we go. So you can see where those are kind of crisscrossing a little bit. I'm going to do this one a second pass too, just to get some extra vibrancy on those colors. So there you can see. Again, perfect for Christmas or just about any other occasion that you want to think of. Okay, so you can stop there, of course. I'm going to keep on going, keep on layering. And there is a detail layer as well right here. So this is the one I'm going to do in our beautiful evergreen. And I'll just shimmy this around here. Hope that I'm angling it correctly. There we go. And I think this is the crafter's version of like measure twice, cut once. Just double check where you've got your layers going before you commit. My dad was a woodworker, so that was always his mantra, was to measure twice, cut once. Okay, and there you go. So you've got that nice detail on there. And that is it for the second mistletoe branch. So again, you've got the two large ones. One is facing one direction, one is facing the other direction, so that you can quite easily create single images as your card focal, as we've done on here. You can also, of course, create a really nice big background on here with things kind of going in lots of different directions. You have a nice sense of movement. Now, this stamp, which is here, 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 and here, is this little guy. So don't forget about this one. Sometimes when we get into the layering, Altenew always includes lots of other little kind of extra bits. And this is a perfect one for this design because it can fit in if you're doing an all over background. Again, the Joy to the World, this one is with our same Peace on Earth stamp set that we saw. It's this nice big one down here. And again, a really pretty font. And for this, I'm also using some of the satin white sequins. So I've just got those kind of glued around on here. For both of these cards, I'm using gold embroidery thread from Altenew, and this is their antique gold. And I love this for adding just a little touch of dimension to a design without having a lot of bulk, especially if you're mailing cards overseas. Sometimes they get a little expensive or even damaged if you have like lots of bumpy elements in there, if you don't have it in a pad envelope. So this is a nice way to get some texture with being really bumpy. Now in this case, I've wrapped it around the matted piece twice, secured the ends to the back, top and bottom here, put this down, I've got it up on foam tape, and then I glued the bow separately. So I often have people go, how do you tie it so perfectly and wrap it around and do all of that? I don't tie the bow before I do the wrapping, I do it after. So it's two separate pieces. This is one piece and the bow is a second piece. I'm not that good that I could do this with it all being one piece. So that's what I've done here. Now, for this card, I've got, this is all one white piece. This little red strip you see here is just a strip of red cardstock. So I've just got that trimmed down and going across. Again, same thing. I've wrapped this with some of that gold embroidery thread and then tied a bow on here. So quick and easy to do. Now, I think this could also, with maybe not with the red, with a different sentiment, you could have a different message on here. Alrighty, so we've looked at the traditional greens, and now I want to show you another example, maybe using some different colors. So let me grab this cardstock here. And again, I'm going to use the berry piece. And I'm going to pop this down. Now this will eventually become an all over background. So you have to imagine with me here for a little bit. I'm going to just angle this down here. And instead of using green, I'm going to go with a little bit of a maybe trendy or non-traditional color, which is sea glass. So I'm going to pop this down here, just kind of anchor that down. MJ is here from Japan. Good morning from Japan, she says. Cool. Very nice to have you, MJ. We've got a nice international crowd here. Okay, ink this up here. Again, sea glass. Oops, let's get that off. Sea glass is our color. Maybe not traditional foliage color, but let's see if you like it. Sea glass is one of my favorite colors. I love those beautiful blues. I'm going to do this one more time, kind of punch that up a little bit. And stamp this down here. Oh, Dana saying hi. Hi, Dana. Nice to see that you have joined us. Welcome, everybody. If I haven't caught your comments or your hellos, I'm trying to, I wish I had 4 eyes. You know, I could be watching the comments and doing this at the same time. Okay, so I've got this lovely light blue on here. Now I'm going to come back and get these berries once again. And stay with me, see what you think. I'm going to put these back in. So I'm skipping all of the layers, basically. I haven't done any of those other layers at all. And this is just going to be a 2-step process as I'm angling this in here. Fiddling around with it. Okay, I think I've got it. Alrighty. And for the berries, since now this is blue and I'm not worried at all about authenticity in terms of botanicals, I'm again going to reach for that ruby red, really nice, cheerful red, and pop this down. I love this color combination. I just think it looks really fresh and fun and a little bit different. Dana, you're saying that sea glass is soothing. It is. It's one of my favorite colors for that same reason. And of course, it goes so beautifully with all of the other blues. But I love this combination of red and like a really nice soft pale blue. These two together are a good combination, I think. So I wanted to show this to you. And then if we can take a look, I'm going to grab this other one here, which is the non-berry minus the berries. And I'm just going to have this one kind of coming down this way. So it's off of my cardstock piece. And I will ink this one up with sea glass too. I wanted to try something a little bit, maybe more contemporary would be a good way to describe it. Sometimes it's nice to have something that's really traditional for Christmas cards, and it's also nice to have some modern options. And I'll show you a finished card when I get done with this part, but I just wanted to show you the process of this. So simple and easy. And with this one, I can just leave it as is. And then I can continue to stamp around there. So again, taking advantage of the fact that some of the foliage pieces will go one way and some will curve kind of the other way. You can also then take advantage of the beautiful scripted sentiment on here. So be merry and bright, or just merry and bright, or you can kind of mix and match some of these too. So I'm going to grab a couple of these and just show you how nicely they will stamp up. If any of you have this stamp set, let me know, because it's one that I've had in my stash for a really long time. As I mentioned, I think I've probably used it almost every Christmas for a while. And I'm always curious when other people have the same stamp set, if it's one that they've also kind of come to rely on. Tell me if you're working on your Christmas cards too, if you make any. Okay, pop these down. And then for these, I'm just going to use my obsidian. And this is such a great black ink for sentiments because it makes it look so nice and crisp. And then I'm just going to overstamp this here and lift that up. Now it has kind of a sketchy look to it, the font does itself, which is going to give us a really kind of more casual look in the text, which also goes nicely with a more contemporary color combination. Okay, so I'm going to scrub that off of there and then move my magnets, and then I will also show you another example. Make sure my hands aren't too inky, but you can see how nicely that red pops on there. Now, if you do the whole background of your piece, you can create, again, a really nice, simple card design. And it's flat, so if you're mailing them or if you're making lots of them, if you want to keep things not bumpy so that they can go through the post more easily, this is a great way to go. But I love that softness of the sea glass, which apparently I'm not the only one who loves that color. And then little pops of red. So I've got it on one side and on the other, just kind of framing that. That way, when I'm stamping merry and bright on top, I don't have to worry about it clashing with the berries, or kind of like the two of them competing. Super duper easy to do. And then I've just trimmed this down and popped it onto the front of a square card. So super cinchy to do. So I've got another card that I want to show you. And this one has lots of bits and pieces to it. So I need to kind of get myself organized over here. And this one is going to be using our berry design with some different inks. Okay, I'm going to get a little sip of tea here. And we're going to tilt things in a little different direction this time. So again, I'm going to use stamp with the berries. Pop that down, and let's see, I think I'm going to use for this one Forest Glades. Forest Glades and Evergreen. I'm only going to use 2 greens for this one. So we'll start with our Forest Glades. And ink this up. Okay, and I'm going to run this through again. I'll do one more pass. There's just something about really nicely done greenery that makes for a beautiful card, I think. Okay, so that was with my Forest Glades. Got that. I'm going to set that one aside. And then take the second layer, so our really funny looking one here. Same process as before. It starts to get a lot more intuitive the more you use these ones, like with any of the Altenew stamps, especially the layering ones. The more that you do them, the easier it is. And you know what? Actually, I'm going to skip this layer. I'm not going to do this layer. I'm going to do this layer here. I was looking at my card, the one that I still have to show you, and I'm like, that's not the way I'm going to do it. I'm going to do this layer instead. So this is skipping this layer entirely. We're just doing this one, and then you will see what else we'll do. So this one's going to be with evergreen. Pop this in place. So this is kind of the fun too with Altenew stamps, especially with these layering ones, that you really can experiment with the layers. We know how we can use the layers to create really beautiful and effortlessly beautiful designs. But also, you can skip layers, alternate layers, mix and match your layers, and do some fun other things too. So I've got my 2 on here. And now for the berries, I'm going to grab a completely different color. So I've got my berries on hand. And instead of white or red or blue or whatever berry color you want to go with, I'm going to use the Antique Gold pigment ink. So this is a metallic gold ink, as you can see on here. Because it's a pigment ink, this is super versatile. So not only will it give you a beautiful gold, golden metallic effect, but you can also, because it's pigment, it's a slow drying ink, and you can also use it for heat embossing if you want to. We're not going to do that today, but I just want to offer that to you as an option. Okay, so I'm going to pop the berries in place. There we go. And I'm going to grab this beautiful metallic gold for my berry colors. So now, because this is a pigment ink, it does tend to have a bit of a squishier pad. So especially with stamps where you've got a lot of space in between, I think it's more important, rather than sort of squashing it down on there, which will get you pigment ink everywhere, just to give it a few little gentle taps, because remember, you can always come back and add more. Okay, so rather than sort of squashing it everywhere. And I'm going to do a second pass on here. And there are 2 different colors of metallic gold ink from Altenew, or 2 that I know of. Maybe Roxanne, you can correct me if I'm wrong. But there is the Antique Gold, which is the one I'm using today. And the one that I tend to reach for often, it's just a nice classic gold. And because it's a pigment ink, as I mentioned, it'll give you a little bit of double duty for thing. The nice thing, though, is that it doesn't take ages to dry. So you can see here, I've got that lovely shine on here, but I don't have to wait for a very long time. I don't have to heat set it. It will be ready to go in just a minute or so. Now, we've been looking at using the stamps in a horizontal fashion, or in a vertical fashion, but you can also angle them to be horizontal. And in this case, I'm going to use one of the Happy Holidays sentiments. So this is another one from Altenew that I've had for ages and ages. You can tell it looks like it's been handled quite a lot. But this one is great because it's a nice smaller size stamp set, packs in a ton of different holiday sentiments. So merry and bright, happy holidays, happy new year, warm wishes, season's greetings, Merry Christmas. And then lots of smaller sentiments too. So best wishes for a happy holiday season. And then you've got all of these like little accent pieces on here too. So I'm going to grab, let's see, I'm going to grab the happy holidays and pop this down here. So again, completely different look that you can go for here. Now you could stamp this in any one of your colors. I'm going to do the obsidian, which also is a pigment ink too, which is what's giving it that nice rich color. And I've got a little something on my H on here. So I'm going to come back and ink that up again. Okay, there we go. So vertical, horizontal, however you want to do your designs. Either way looks good. Of course, you could also have it going this way too and have your sentiment underneath. So whichever way you want to take advantage of the curve in that beautiful bit of foliage is completely up to you. Now let me show you. I'm going to close this up for a second. And I want to show you what I've done with this design because I have a card made with it. My hands are awfully inky. Just trying not to handle this white card with my inky hands. And this is the one that I made using this technique. So tying in with the gold of those berries, I just used some gold metallic cardstock that I happen to have on hand. And then this beautiful die cut back here. Let me show you this. This one is with the layered plaid cover die B. Now, I have used this die so often. It's actually meant to be part of a pair. It's supposed to be like this is B, and then you also buy A separately. And you die cut them both, layer them with different colors of cardstock, and then you have this really cool like dimensional plaid effect. But of course you can use either one separately, which is what I tend to do with this because it's just such a beautiful background, instant background. This one looks great with flowers die cut around it too. So I've just simply taken my stamp sentiment, trimmed that down, and then popped it right on top. I like having the gold tying in together and also a little bit of that gold embroidery thread wrapped around here, got that bow on there. And then this is up on foam tape so that it, again, has a little bit of lift and dimension. Super duper easy to use. Now I've got one more card that I want to show you that is not using our Majestic mistletoe set. It's actually using a completely different set. And I talked to Lydia about this because it's a set that I really love, and especially if you're getting into holiday card making, this is a great one. It is also not a new one, so it may be one that you've already got in your stash, which is the Build a Flower poinsettia. I'm going to pull this out of the packaging for a second so that you can see it a little bit better. So this is, again, another layering die or another layering stamp set with a die that goes with it. You've got your outline, your silhouette, then you've got your two layering options on here as well. And the reason I wanted to show this to you is because I thought, oh, while we're in the Christmas mode, I may as well just do a quick demo with this because it is super duper easy to use and creates another really nice, easy layered option. And this is the poinsettia die. Then Lydia reminded me that I'm teaching a class using this stamp and die set. It's December 7th. So if any of you are in that class, we will not be doing this particular card, but we will be doing 2 cards using this set. So If you are coming to that class, then I will see you there December 7th. If not, I think there are still spaces available. So if you have the stamp set, you may want to take a look at that and see if it's something that you're interested in. We do a lot of classes at Altenew, so there's one a couple of times a week. Okay, so for this one, I'm going to just grab the outline on here. I want you to take a look at this and see how nicely it stamps up. And I'm just going to pop it down in the, off to the side a little bit here. And for this, I'm going to use the pigment, the Obsidian Black pigment ink. Ink that up, and this will give a really nice crisp effect. I bought a new poinsettia plant today at the flower shop. They had them really sweet little tiny ones all in pots, and they just looked really nice and festive. So I didn't mean to, but I came home with a little tiny poinsettia, a white one, really sweet. Okay, so I've got my outline. Now, those of you who like to do coloring, you know, you're probably thinking, oh, I could use my watercolors. I could use my watercolor colored pencils, lots of things that you can do with this. You can heat set the outline and then you'd have like a resist effect, or you can keep stamping. So I'm going to grab this silhouette piece and stamp this one. Let's see, I'm going to use coral berry for this. So pop this one down here, and that's just going to basically fill in the image. Okay, so coral berries, another one of my favorites, another nice, kind of a gentle color. It works for a lot of flower options. Okay, pop that color down there. Got a little smudge on here, so I'm going to come back and ink this up and just touch that up a little bit. Okay, so again, as with most Altenew layering sets, you could say, you know what, I'm good with this. I'll die cut it, I'll layer it, or maybe just leave it as is. But if you want to, you can then come back and add more layers. So I've got another layer on here. This one I will stamp. Let's see, I'm going to do this one with, I think I will use Heartbeat for this one. And position this down here. Now with this leaf, and with a lot of the foliage and especially flower stamps, I find it's easier to sort of start with the center where you've got your flower center or leaf center, and then organize from there, kind of tilt as you will. Okay, so this is with Heartbeat. Do this one really quickly. I'm keen to know if any of you have this stamp set too. I think this is one that I've had for, gosh, at least a year. Have I? I think so. It's not brand new. It's not brand new to me anyway. And there is the second layer. Again, you can leave it as it is, or we can keep going. As I'm realizing we're coming on close to our time. I don't want to go over our hour too much. But I'm going to come in with our third layer just so that you can see how this comes together. And again, starting from that center area. And this I am going to do, I'm going to grab the grapevine again for this one. And just ink this up and pop that down. And also remember, you can skip some of the layers in here too. So then you've got some really nice depth and dimension here. And then they've got the centerpieces for the poinsettia as well. Oh, Cece, good point. She says, be careful the cats don't eat the flowers. Poinsettia is toxic for cats. Thank you for the reminder. Fortunately, my cats are not plant eaters. We have lots of plants and flowers in our house, and I'm just grateful. I know that for a lot of people that is a struggle because cats can be very interested in plants. But thank you. So reminder to all of us, keep in mind, don't let the cats around the poinsettia. Okay, so I'm just going to do one layer of our center. There's quite a few. And I just ink that quickly with olive and pop that in, just so there's a little bit of contrast on there. And so then what you can do is do some die cutting on here with the die cutting set. I have no room for this. I'll just put it over here for now. And do some stacking and layering. Now here again, we've got a little bit more of the gold embroidery thread. I've got two of the poinsettias layered, kind of angled. It's the same one, just angled slightly differently. I'm using the framed dies, which are some of my favorites. Now this background here, and I didn't glue it down all the way because I wanted to kind of lift it so that you can see. This is from a huge pack that I have called Moroccan Mosaic. And these are creative cutouts. I've got a lot of them because a lot of them come in the pack. And I don't use them for 12 by 12 scrapbook pages. I trim them down, as I did in this case here. And they just make a really beautiful kind of abstract background. Super simple. Again, I've got more of those sequins on there. Super duper easy to do. Okay, so we've gone from mistletoe to poinsettias in all various kinds of interpretations. Let me grab a couple of these cards. And we can see all the different things that you can do with these. So nice to have so many different options. And again, if you're someone like me who very often when I'm working on Christmas cards, I'll settle on a design and do multiples of it. And I think that mistletoe is just a really perfect one for that, regardless of how you stamp it up. Okay, so I'm going to tilt over my camera again so that we can see each other, or you can see me, I can't see you. I wish I could. It's a nice thing about the classes is that then we can see each other if you want to. Okay, so that is going to wrap us up. Thank you so much for joining me today. Thank you to Roxanne for handling everything behind the scenes. And I'm so glad I didn't actually have to send you that email that was like, help, I'm panicking. So fingers crossed we don't have those kinds of emails. Again, just to run through things with you, we were working with the mistletoe stamp set that is going to give you lots of different options from traditional to maybe a bit more contemporary. Then we were also playing with the Build a Flower poinsettia. My stamps are all over my work surface now. I'll show this to you again. If you want to join us on December 7th, I will be there stamping with the poinsettia. We also played with the Peace on Earth stamp set, as well as our Happy Holidays set too. So we have a lot of different, not new, but maybe new to some of you favorites. And I always like going through my Christmas stamps every year and kind of finding the ones that, you sort of forget about over the year. And then like, oh yeah, I love this design. I love this one. So Alta New is great about having some classic designs that are always exciting and work year after year after year. And that will wrap us up for tonight. I hope everybody has a wonderful day and a great start to the rest of your week. And hopefully if you're in a cold area like we are right now, or some of our friends in the UK, I hope you are able to stay nice and warm and maybe even get a little bit of crafting done. So I thank you again for joining us today, and thanks again to Roxanne and to Altanum. So I will catch you again next time. Take care, everybody, and good night.